All right, and welcome into a special edition. It seems like we've had a lot of special editions lately of the Vegas Squares podcast. We're going to continue that trend, and it is our Super Bowl preview show here on the Vegas Squares podcast. I want to introduce my hosts and our crack research staff, because she doesn't get enough love on this show. But I got Spike on mic 1, Token Tony on mic 2, and our crack research staff member, our only member, Desiree on mic 3. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
What's up?
Hi. A cast of tards there. Well, welcome into our show. Hopefully we'll give you all of the stats, insights, leans, likes, and everything you need to watch the Super Bowl and make a good bet on the Super Bowl. Hopefully we'll give you the right angles, give you the right information you need to enjoy the game. I'd like to first start off our podcast with a new affiliation that we've joined forces with the Forward Mile Podcast Network. You can find them at forwardmile.com. I'd like to thank Chris and all the guys over there for welcoming us into their family. And we're looking forward to a great partnership. And you can find us on the forwardmile.com. Our podcast is over there. Obviously, it's Vegas Squares Podcast. Sign up with them, get the insider information, and let them know we sent you. Also, I'd like to give a special shout-out to 12-Ounce Sports Radio. You can still find us over there on our regular times of Tuesday evenings and Saturday mornings. Tuesdays at 8 Eastern, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. What else we got? We got all of our different social medias.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, and you can always find us on our website, VegasSquares.com, as well as on Twitter at VegasSquares.
Yep.
Or email us at vegassquares@gmail.com.
All right, well, that's enough about us. Let's talk about what's going on Super Sunday. There's a pretty big game. Obviously, Spike and I are looking...
It's not that special, but...
Well, yeah, not when the Lions aren't in it, which I guess it's not that special every year.
It hasn't been that special.
Spike, Pats Eagles, a rematch 13 years in the making.
Yeah, I mean, this one's obviously a little bit different. Really the completely different cast of characters except for Brady and Belichick. But
it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's just amazing to think that 13 years ago it was the Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb connection. I almost said Braden McNabb because I've been watching too many Knights games. I think they're slightly different players. But yeah, no, it's certainly
racist.
Is it? Because I confused a white guy and a black guy?
Well, they're both terrible, other than the fact that one's black and one's white. I don't know. To me, Donovan McNabb's career and Brady McNabb's career are just average at best.
Yeah, well, so far, but I mean, Braden McNabb's.
Well, so far, Donovan's is over.
Well, no, but Braden McNabb's like 20 or 22 or something. Give him time.
I don't imagine him getting any better.
He has plenty of time to suck in the future.
He's got some potential.
Or not. I mean, it could go either way.
Fair enough.
Or potential will suck, so.
Fair enough. Well, okay, let's take a look at the initial on the surface of the game. Right now, the consensus is Patriots are a 4.5-point favorite, 4 to 4.5, depending on what book you look at. The consensus is 4.5. The total on the game, it does stand at 48. Let's take a look at how the teams got there, starting with the Eagles. The Eagles obviously were the number one seed in the NFC. They won the NFC East, defeated Atlanta 15-10 in the divisional round, and then subsequently crushed Minnesota in the NFC Championship 38-7. They've played the underdog role, and they've embraced it so far this postseason, and it's been kind of working in their favor right now.
Absolutely, it has, without a doubt. That big win against Atlanta was the kickstart of it, and then it's pretty much done at halftime for the championship game, in my mind. I mean, it was like 27.5, and just the Vikings.
We're never really in that.
Yeah, I mean, 5 minutes into the game, they pretty much didn't show up after that point. So,
yep. New England's road to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they were the number one seed in the AFC. They won the AFC East Division for the 100 millionth time out of 100 million in 1 year. Divisional playoff, they defeated the surprising Titans, who no one really expected to be there, 35-7. Then they also defeated Jacksonville 24-20 in what we all thought was a nail-biter, with the exception of Spike, who knew it was never over based on what?
You really want me to get this rant going again?
No, I don't.
It was...
But you're going to do it anyway.
I'm going to say it anyway, of course. Why not? You prompted me, so why the hell wouldn't I take this opportunity to shit on another team's coaching staff? 14-10, 55 seconds left. They've just kicked the ball back to Jacksonville at the end of the first half. Jacksonville has it on the 25, 55 seconds, 3 timeouts, and they take a knee. How do you ever think that a lead against Tom Brady is safe and that it doesn't need to be padded? How do you not at least try a couple of running plays or a wheel route or something safe, get some yards, and try to kick a field goal before the end of the half, especially with Jacksonville getting the ball to start the second half?
Yeah,
you want to shift
any
that
shot
momentum to the second.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work, yeah, you're right. So before I get, Spike gets any further of a wedgie, let's look. The Patriots are playing in their 10th Super Bowl overall, 8 in the Brady-Belichick era, and Philly's playing in their 3rd Super Bowl overall, 1st in the Peterson era. Obviously, advantage New England in that spot. Anthony, do you think that kind of expertise plays a huge factor in here, or do you think that Philadelphia could get by something like that?
I would say it does play a huge factor. I'm not sure what you mean by huge. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, it plays a factor of about a 7. So pretty significant factor in my mind.
Yeah, the fact they played 7 previous Super
Bowls. He has the knowledge of play runs, play calls, game management, stuff like that in these big situations. So,
all right. So we've got the bet opened up at 6. We talked about it. The William Hill possible matchups was 7 before the start of the championship games 2 weeks ago. Now we opened up at 6. It's obviously dropped 1.5 points down to 4.5. One of those key reasons why that it's done that is the rumors that have been confirmed going out there that there has been a 7-figure bet on the Eagles' money line that has now been confirmed to be in the neighborhood of $3.5 to $5 million. We talked about this on the last show. The World Series Let It Ride Better has now been confirmed to throw down anywhere from $3.5 to $5 million over at the MGM. I'm a big believer, and that's probably why the line has moved so much in favor of Philly at this point.
I think that makes a lot of sense, although I am seeing something now that says 59% of tickets are coming in on the Eagles, as well as 68% of the money line bets are coming in for the Eagles. So, it's getting hammered one way with the number of tickets, but I think the amount of money being spent on the Eagles is going that way too, which is causing this line to just plummet.
Did you expect early action to go towards Philadelphia?
Yeah, I was expecting with that big dominant win against Minnesota that would be happening. And I know for a fact, at William Hill that 2/3 of the action on the total has been over, and it's been slightly creeping up half by half.
Well, that's always been the square play, is the overplay. I mean, people like points. So, but you're right. I mean, the question I have initially, and we'll get diving into a lot of the, the intangibles, etc. My initial thought is I've never been a big fan of, the media just swooning over a certain team, and the action in the book going the opposite direction. So, Spike, obviously you're a Pats fan. You've got your Jamie Collins jersey on, which makes me chuckle. What are your thoughts as you watch the media, Colin Cowherd, Dan Patrick, you have, the guys on ESPN, whoever you watch on a regular basis, sit here and discuss the dynasty that is New England football and watch the money pour in on Philadelphia?
Yeah, it is a little strange. I think, people are looking, or the media is looking specifically at the Brady era. And they're saying this is Brady's 8th, this is Belichick's 8th as a head coach, the two of them together, blah, blah, blah. And that's been the narrative the entire time.
Right.
Sort of taking away from the entire rest of the team. I mean, we have a defense that's played lights out, especially since week 4. We've had an offense that's just been unbelievable all year. Both of these coordinators are gone after the Super Bowl, and that's hardly being mentioned at all from what I can see.
Isn't that a good thing? Because it kind of takes away. I mean, do you think Patricia and McDaniels are distracted right now? Or do you think that mindset that they've been developed won't let them?
The only thing I know for sure is that Patricia has already called people on the Detroit staff and said, you don't have jobs next year.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
But aside from that,
probably a smart move.
Yeah, and I think, going into it, their new respective teams with a clean slate and being able to, start fresh and not have to kind of worry about what to do after the Super Bowl is probably helping them out as a mindset. They know that they have this time after the Super Bowl that they can deal with, filling in the staffing and the draft and all that. They don't have a lot of time to do that, but they have some time to do it.
Sure.
But I think, getting back to the Brady thing, it's just all of the attention is on Brady. All of the attention is on Belichick not answering questions about the Super Bowl and everything else. My favorite answer now that he has given is somebody asked, what's the difference between this Super Bowl and the other ones you've been in? And his answer was, this one's in Minnesota.
Is that Belichick?
Yeah.
This one we're playing the Eagles.
But you know what?
Eagles this week.
A lot of times, I mean, let's take a look back at the Super Bowls that New England's been in. You have the Rams, who are the greatest show on turf, et cetera.
The Pats went into that one as, 14-point underdogs?
Correct. You have the Carolina Panthers, who at this point were facing a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Brady. They were the talk of the town.
Yep.
You have Philadelphia, who had T.O., who has to be on the mic 24/7, and Donovan McNabb, who's also kind of a chatty Cathy.
Right. Well, and for that one too, don't forget the Eagles had been to 3 or 4 conference championship games in a row at that point, and that was their first crack at the Super Bowl.
No, I'm aware of that. I was just saying, you have the Giants twice, who the first time they were complete underdogs, and we're talking about one of the greatest teams of all time in New England. I take that one as an isolated, but then you have the Giants again. You had the revenge factor. You had Seattle. You had Atlanta, who had the MVPs on their team, and you had that defense, the Legion of Boom, who also couldn't shut their mouth. For 6 out of the 7 Super Bowls that New England's been in, they haven't been the talk of the Super Bowl. They haven't been the distraction of the Super Bowl. You get this one, and now it's Bill Belichick's on a 30 for 30. Tom's on this Facebook TV show. Is it concern you at all that in this Super Bowl, like the 2007 Super Bowl, they're the talk of the 2-week media period, and it's kind of, they're the distraction now where they're being asked all these questions. They're the ones who are posted up on every media outlet, website, wherever. The last time that was the case was when the 18-0 season, and we all know how that turned out. Does it make you concerned as a Pats fan that they're being distracted or they're the distraction in this Super Bowl? Whereas Philly can just go in and play their game.
Right. No, I don't think it bothers me specifically because it is Brady and Belichick, and they went through it before. They knew that the distraction in the 2007 Super Bowl hurt them more than anything else.
Right.
And I think they are now able to kind of push that all off to the side. They are more media savvy than people probably give them credit for. I think now, everybody's worried about Brady playing with a chip on his shoulder, and he certainly got the ammunition he needed by that absolute monumentally stupid DJ in Boston that called his daughter an annoying little pissant. Because that's exactly what Philadelphia fans wanted, was Brady getting pissed off during the week.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It seems like there's just minute instances that are building up to create a huge distraction.
Right, and for anybody else that would be a problem, but I think for Brady and Belichick, because they've been here so many times before and they've dealt with so many of these media things, whether they were the focus or whether they weren't, that it's not going to get to them the same way that it would for somebody like if the roles were reversed and everybody was, coming on to Nick Foles and asking him these same types of questions. If a DJ had called Nick Foles' I don't even know if he has a daughter, but
right, I see
his theoretical daughter an annoying little pissant, would he be able to handle that the same way as a Tom Brady would? I don't think he would.
But see, like Anthony, now you have like Steve Spagnuolo, who was the defensive, linebackers coach in 2004 in the match of the last time these two played in the Super Bowl, now coming out and saying, they definitely knew our signs. I mean, you're talking 14 years ago.
Oof.
I mean, you've had 14 years to say something.
Did he forget that when he was on the Giants squad that somebody on that team, I forget who, but somebody from the Giants admitted that they had the Patriots signals from that Super Bowl and they were able to adjust blitzes to get to Brady?
But you know what? I mean, the way I look at things is that's your job. Your job is to make sure I don't know your signals.
Right.
My job is to get your signal.
Oh no, and that's the thing. I'm not.
I know.
I'm not faulting them for doing it. I'm saying good on them for getting it, but then don't shit on Brady for doing the exact same thing to you.
And that's what I'm saying. And Spagnuolo sitting here saying, they knew our signals. Well, be better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a Jim Johnson-led defense, who's one of the greatest defensive coordinators in modern era. Obviously, he's not with us anymore. But, one of the greatest defensive coordinators in modern era is telling them, they know our signs. Fucking switch them.
Yeah, they do. They switch signs in baseball every inning. Yeah, but they sometimes do it 4 times a pitcher.
That's my job. I'm going to send some. I'm going to have somebody find your signals.
Oh yeah.
So it's just. It seems like I hate to use obviously current events, but it seems like there's a witch hunt going on to create a distraction for the Patriots that will eventually just fade back into the darkness once Sunday has happened. Whichever way Sunday goes, whether it's a Patriots victory or a Patriots defeat, all of these so-called monumental, distractions will eventually cease to exist and go away. And that's why I have a problem, is because I understand it's 2 weeks and you've got to create a lot of different media for 2 weeks, but I mean, come on. I guess I should expect more out of the media, but I want more out of the media, but expect less, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
There you go. Also, I know you addressed that question to Anthony, and I jumped right in there and kind of scooped it up for myself. So we'll let him talk now if he wants to. Pressure's on. Come on. Go. No, say something.
I can see it to your rebuttal.
Fucking Skype. Well, like we've talked about,
well said, so.
we talked about, this is a rematch of the 2004 season, the Super Bowl that took place in 2005. Obviously, remember McNabb throwing up on the field, T.O. playing on a broken, was it ankle or leg?
Something like that.
Yeah, and that was Pat's title number 3 to cap which is crazy to say, their first dynasty under Brady and Belichick. I'll throw this to Anthony first. Let me turn Spike's mic down real quick. So even if he jumps in, you can't hear him. If the Pats win Sunday, we have Brady and Belichick's legacy of 2 separate dynasties with the same team in the salary cap era with free agency. I mean, we're biased, but as an outsider, an objective person looking in, I mean, what does that say to a football fan of 2 guys who could do it 2 different occasions over, almost 2 decades?
As I look at it, I mean, they work very well together. They kind of talk with each other, see what's best for this team, how we can move the ball forward, come back from behind, like stuff like that in my mind. I mean, they just find every little thing to make their play better, as well as like keep the lead and not blow it up, or maybe they just stop on more points from that.
Right. So, I mean, you look at one side, and that's Brady and Belichick's legacy, and now I'm going to kick it to you again and talk about Nick Foles' legacy at this point. And he's had a very roller coaster ride, obviously under Chip Kelly. We remember the 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But, that's the flashes in the pan of Nick Foles. What does winning the Super Bowl here do for him? Because we know more than likely Carson Wentz comes back next year.
Oh, absolutely, in my mind, without a doubt.
So talk about the Nick Foles experience at this point, should he win a Super Bowl.
I think it's more for himself to maybe hit that free agent market or potentially be the backup again for Wentz if he so wants to be, I guess. I mean,
Well, I would imagine, I know he's under contract. I would imagine if he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to want to go get a starting gig.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, it depends how he plays. I think he has the game management level skill, without a doubt, fit for almost any team. And, I mean, he's not taking that much of a cap hit as of right now, but say he does get a starting gig somewhere else, he could potentially
cash in.
Yeah, cash in probably 23 to 27-ish. Realistic.
Do you think Nick Foles could get $23 million for winning 3 playoff games?
Probably. Somebody would probably pay him.
All right, let me turn Spike's mic up so he can rebut that.
I don't even know if I can, to be perfectly honest with you. The problem is that the quarterback is obviously the most important position in professional sports, and there are so few good quarterbacks out there that even ones that aren't elite, they're in that second and third tier. Teams are fighting tooth and nail over these guys. Yeah.
But don't we look at the Joe Flacco caveat? The guy who had 4 good games in 2012 and wrote it to a $20 million plus a year contract and has pretty much coasted on that for, 5 years?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and but I don't know that any owner or general manager is going to mind that, because Baltimore, even if Flacco isn't elite, even if his signature move is bombing it 40 yards downfield and hoping for a defensive pass interference call, the Ravens are still competitive every year. They're still putting butts in the seats. They're still selling Flacco jerseys. They're still, people are still paying for the parking and they're paying for the concessions and everything else. So he doesn't have to be a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback as long as he's even going 8-8 every year. Cleveland is 0-16 this year, 1-15 last year. They go 8-8 this year. That's an unbelievable success. Even if they're dead last in the division, it's still going to be considered a successful season. Even if they do that the next year and the next year, and then the year after that they go 9-7, people are still going to be considering that such an improvement over what they've had before, because winning in this league is so hard.
Winning consistently, yeah, you're right. Let's move on to a couple of different things, the storylines that a lot of people have been talking about on the media. And if you listen to the media, they like the Pats big, and we talked about prop bets. We were talking about how Anthony, you said you like the Pats, with the line, and one of the big factors is given the line opened up at 6. It's really hard to judge this line given the fact that New England really doesn't blow anybody out in Super Bowls. So talk about the fact that, you still like the line at 5, 4.5 in those areas, given the fact that New England's won 3 of their Super Bowls by a field goal, 1 of their Super Bowls by 4, and the other one by 6.
Yes, with the last one as known as 6 as well. I mean, I'm patting myself on the back for not betting the Falcons that day, thank God. And, with these lines between 3 and 7, those are kind of scare situations with betting the Pats in this big game, kind of, just because they do enough to win or they come from behind. This year, I think it's a little different, though. I think they're going to go up a couple scores and could be kind of coast through and kind of match what the Eagles kind of do.
So, you're the one who's been talking in the last few weeks about you feel more confident that there is going to be a bigger, wider margin of victory by the Patriots. So that's why I bring this up to you. The dog over the last 16 Super Bowls is 12-4 ATS.
Yes, that is very true.
But also at the same time, 90% of the Super Bowl teams who win the Super Bowl cover, whether that's dog or favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. With last year being one of those situations where the favorite wanting covered, backdoored it, of course.
Well, they backdoored it by a monumental comeback.
Yeah, I know.
Once they got into overtime, it wasn't a backdoor cover. They had to cover as the favorite. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that, when you're talking about blowouts, and you, like I said, I lean on you because you've been the one to say that the Patriots are going to win this. Out of the 51 Super Bowls that have been played, 24 have been decided by 2 touchdowns or more. So you're looking at roughly a little less than half. The Patriots aren't in that half. So what about this game, and I know we're going to break it down a little more, but what about this game on the surface makes you believe that that's going to be the case come Sunday night?
I believe with Minnesota hosting it, everybody in the stands is going to be a Pat fan. They're just going to root for the Patriots because they don't like the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I have a hard time believing a lot of the city of Minnesota is going to get tickets at that point.
I heard some are, and
I still hope that Uber thing comes through.
And they're going to drop them off over at the Double-A hockey team out there or something.
Drop them off in Bemidji on the Canadian border.
Yeah. Yeah, we're almost there.
I mean, broken remotes aside, you've watched enough Super Bowls in your day to believe that, there's a little bit of a trend, with Belichick, in these other matchups, he has no problem putting his foot on the throat of people. He gets enough points, continues to run down, make you stop him. But in Super Bowls, he seems, the way that they call plays, their game plan seems to just get by.
Yeah, and I think it's always been sort of a mystery as to why Belichick-led teams, for as dominant as they are in the regular season, just can't seem to put together a complete dominating type performance in the Super Bowl. Even in some playoff games, they're not able to do that completely. The game this year against Tennessee aside, there's really been some nail-biters in the last few years. Let's not forget a couple of years ago where they had to twice come back from 2 touchdowns down against the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an easy task, obviously.
Last 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's sort of a head-scratcher, but I don't know if that's that they exhaust their playbook so early and that, Belichick doesn't trust Josh McDaniels to come up with new plays in the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. I don't know what the issue is, but it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do if they're able to get out to an early lead in this game because, like you said, they have the ability to step on the throat and know that they're not just going to coast. If they get out to a touchdown or a 10-point lead, they're not just going to hand it off and kind of stop playing offense.
Jaguar football.
Right, yeah, they're they'll play action to Gronk up the middle for 25, 30 yards and really try to punish the Eagles for not showing up and not being prepared.
Try and put the nail in the coffin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And every other sports cliche.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they got to get up because look, like I said, last 2 Super Bowls they've been down. Sometimes big. The first couple of Super Bowls, they were in back and forth nail biters. They were obviously the huge underdog against the Rams. They were a bigger favorite against both Philly and I think they were 7-point favorites against both of the Philly and Carolina, and played close games with both. So it's like you said, it's never really been in a situation where while Belichick is the guy who will always the Saban mentality. Put the foot on the gas and never really have a problem sticking it to you. It just hasn't really been that factor in Super Bowls, and you can kind of lean it on whatever you want. I think you're right. I mean, why at this point in the season would you allow McDaniels to start creating some new plays? Right,
and part of this is too that they've never scored in the first quarter of a Super Bowl.
It's still mind-boggling.
Yeah, I can't figure it out, but that's got to be part of it. I don't know if they're too conservative or if they're so concerned about not calling a play that they ran during the regular season that they just lose all creativity. I have no idea what the issue is, but let's hope this Super Bowl bucks all the trends.
All right, so moving on, I have a stat I found online that when I read it, I know you'll all collectively go wow at one time. So hold your wows, okay? Everybody hold. So, under Brady and Belichick, over the last 18 years, the Patriots have won 27 playoff games. Okay, everybody still calm? In the entire Philadelphia Eagles franchise history, they have only won 21 playoff games.
Wow.
I could bring up Detroit's stat about playoff games, but I'm not going to.
We're good.
You could kindly leave. Anyone want to comment on that?
Hey, it's 26 more than Detroit since expanding the Super Bowl era.
I looked at that stat I was reading for, just trying to find different information on the Super Bowls and Super Bowls past. And, you're talking about, everybody's talking about the system. Well, here's a stat that shows the system. 27 playoff victories, 27-9 over the course of their career with Brady with Belichick. 27 playoff victories is more than an entire franchise that has been around since the inception of professional football, almost.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's if you're talking, that's 36 games total. That's 2 full seasons, or
plus,
just about, yeah,
2 plus full seasons.
Yeah, I mean that's unbelievable to think about.
It's 2 plus full seasons against what you would consider the top competition, because you don't make the playoffs by accident.
That's right. Yeah,
rarely ever. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a stat to me that's just crazy, just to think that over 18 years, the kind of dominance. I mean, you have teams like Buffalo who over 18 years have played 1 game, and you're talking about 2 plus full seasons and 27 victories, which I don't know. To me, it was just a crazy stat that I saw. Let's look at another storyline. Obviously, you always look at former players who have played on the opposing team. We know the LeGarrette Blount story. He was on the Patriots for off and on for the last 3 years. And we have the Chris Long story. But a forgotten guy who many people don't remember played for the Eagles was Dion Lewis, kind of an Eagles cast-off. We know what he's done in the time that he's been with the Patriots. He's been a key factor. I know these are, obviously the Blount and Chris Long are obviously with Belichick, but Dion Lewis was underneath a different regime. What do these guys bring to the table as far as helping out their teams now with what their teams in the past, what their teams in the past do well and not well? Anything that we can take from that as far as what Chris Long and LeGarrette Blount could give Peterson as far as an advantage to help the Eagles against the Patriots?
Well, I think Chris Long is probably the odd man out here. Only because he only spent the 1 year with New England, and it was, not the most productive year. He wasn't really a starter. He just kind of was a role player. Even after he left, Belichick said, this is a great player. He knows his stuff, but there just wasn't a spot for him in New England, and that he fit Philadelphia's system better. But, that's sort of the way I see it. Obviously, Blount is Blount, and he not only knows New England and everything that they're capable of, but New England knows what he's capable of, so trying to game plan for him becomes a little bit easier. Dion Lewis, he was on the Eagles, but he'd never really played.
Right. He was behind Shady, but I'm sure that they'd love to have a guy like that now, considering the previous years before Blount and Ajayi, and in between Shady McCoy, there was no semblance of a running game. So I don't know. You just think about a lot. He's kind of the forgotten guy because he doesn't walk around stomping his feet, pounding his chest like Chris Long and Blount have done the last, 6 months. So just kind of something I thought about. All right, Token Tony, it's time to get into the trenches. Who's your X factor and key to the game for each side?
My key to the game?
Don't lose.
It can go either way. But the X factor for this game is going to be New England's defense if they can stop Foles' game management. Just kind of shut it down and cause some 3 and outs, some hectic, and apply some pressure to him.
Talk about the Pats offense versus the Eagles defense. Talk about advantages, disadvantages, and what do you think that each unit could do well?
Well, I think the Eagles defense is just so complete. They've been unbelievable all year. I think they were 4th in the league in yards allowed. They're 4th or 5th in the league in points allowed. Their challenge is going to be finding guys to cover every one of the Patriots' weapons, presumably man-to-man, if not, with safety help over the top, especially when it comes to Gronkowski. But I think at some point you're going to see a lot of mismatches. You're going to see a lot of linebackers trying to cover Dion Lewis out of the backfield or White out of the backfield.
Right.
You're going to have Chris Hogan, Brandon Cooks, Gronk, and Amendola out there at the same time. They're not going to be able to figure out a way to cover them. And if they go to zone, Brady eats zone defenses for breakfast.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be, for as good as Philadelphia's defense has been all year, this is such a dynamic offense. This is just such a brutal system that Philadelphia has to play against. that would make me worried if I were an Eagles fan.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the situation. I mean, the Pats' offense has, you just said it, so many weapons and so many different ways to beat you. I don't know of another team in the NFL that has, weapons that you can count on more than one hand at this point. But, the Eagles' defense is no slouch. Kind of my X factor in the game is kind of Brandon Cooks and his ability to stretch the field. Maybe not Brandon Cooks as a receiver, but maybe Brandon Cooks as a decoy to open up that 5 to 15-yard route that the Patriots love so much with Amendola and Hogan. I think Hogan and Amendola are going to be crisscrossing all over the field. The Amendola prop that we talked about, 5.5 catches, is looking pretty, in my opinion, looking pretty good. But don't slouch, because the minute you believe that Cooks is a decoy, he's going to burn you, at that point. So, where do you see, the Eagles' defense focusing on first? I mean, obviously, if Gronk plays, he's obviously another factor. If he doesn't, then Dwayne Allen becomes all-world tight end. But where do you see the Eagles? If you're sitting in their war room right now, and you're the defensive coordinator, where do you see Jim Schwartz, game planning to take down first?
I think first and foremost, their priority is going to get pressure on Brady and not give him time to hit those receivers.
Okay.
That's going to be the thing. They're going to have to disrupt the routes, however they can do that, whether that means, the little legal pick plays within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage, or, if that means
getting in the face of the receiver.
Getting in the face, every time that they go over the middle, just hitting them hard and, making them regret making that play. I think it's physicality. That's what I'm getting at. They have to be able to hit these guys in the mouth. They have to be able to get Brady off his game. To quote the great philosopher Mike Tyson, everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the mouth.
I thought that was Ali.
No, that's Tyson, yeah.
Oh, okay. I misquoted that like 4 or 5 podcasts ago. Nobody called me out on that?
I don't think I was here for that. Cause
probably went over my head.
Yeah. If I had heard that, I would have corrected you on it because, unless I was playing with my phone, because I typically don't pay attention when I'm not the one talking.
He's on Skype.
But yeah, no, I think that's what it has to be. And then beyond that, it has to be just getting these guys to know who they're covering, to know their tendencies, to know their routes, to know, if they're going down the field, are they more likely to cut inside or outside? Are they more likely to, look to see if the safety's helping? Are they more likely to run the hook, or, however it is? I think it's about physicality and preparation.
Yeah, and like I said, it's such a hard thing to do to game plan for 7 weapons, 7 different weapons, and have the depth and ability, which, it's going to be tough. Jacksonville was able to, stop them per se in a sense for enough time. They just didn't have the depth over the long run of the game to compete with the fresh legs of every single weapon that, New England turned out. Tony, talk about the, on the flip side of the ball, you have Alshon Jeffrey in the Eagles offense. You have, the stable of backs that they have. Talk about their offense and the ability to, what they're going to need to do to focus their strengths against the Patriots defense.
What they have to do to succeed is going to have to move the ball forward, but also control the game clock at this time. You want to keep your offense on the field, eat up some of that clock, wear out their defense, make them burn, make them tired. Just
let me ask you something.
That endurance factor.
Now, you say that they have to move the ball forward. Is there any scenario where Peterson and the offense are considering moving the ball backwards? Have they discussed that during the
They can pull one out of Belichick's pocket and punt it out the back of the end zone.
That's true. The old Belichick intentional safety. He has used that before.
Yep.
I said it. Your main was like, move the ball forward. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the fundamental of football.
It might be part of it. They're going to look to open up that run game, to open up that pass and give Foles some big opportunities to make a deep pass here and there and maybe burn a cornerback on the back end and get that big play that they need.
Well, I mean, and if we look at the strength of the Patriots defense, it is their secondary at this point. So you're right. I mean, what about Blunt and Ajayi? What do they have to do to basically take the pressure off of Foles' shoulders?
I think they both have to be on the same side of the field and create those mismatch opportunities, cross routes, stuff like that.
You know they're running backs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sending LeGarrette Blount on cross routes?
Oh, absolutely.
You hear this, right? We're sending LeGarrette Blount on cross routes in Sunday's football game.
Well,
or maybe Tony knows something I don't know.
Truth be told, in the first half, that's really not a bad idea because nobody would be expecting that ever.
Nobody in the fundamental history of football would expect LeGarrette Blount on a crossing route.
I mean, you never know.
I think you might be onto something.
Yeah.
It's really not a bad idea. I mean, I know we're shitting on you for it, but
I wasn't shitting on him. I just kind of laughing because I just. You're right. It may be the what do you say? That the plan is that's so crazy. It just might work.
Exactly.
Hey, it's the last game of the season.
Can't hold anything back now.
Yep.
What's that from? Waterboy?
Waterboy. Yep.
Last game of the season. We know. Who was that? Who was in the Waterboy? I know it was Brent Musburger. Who was he talking to? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The Bourbon Bowl.
Yeah.
Last game of the season. Can't hold anything back now.
Yeah.
Oh God, I wish we have to get the crack research staff to look at that. Position by position, I don't really want to get too deep. Obviously, we know the quarterback in this thing. But offensively versus defensively, where are the positions, Spike, that favor the Eagles more so than New England on both sides of the ball? And don't say punter. I know you're dying to.
I never would. I think if the Patriots have a weakness, it is keeping Brady upright. I mean, the offensive line has certainly improved over last year and 2 years ago. Especially in that disastrous AFC
Denver game.
The championship game against Denver, yeah. But I think that if there is a spot where Philadelphia can exploit a weakness on the Patriots, that's it. It's being able to keep them upright. Now, again, I've talked about it before. The Patriots are the best second half adjustment team in the league. So if Brady's been hit 4 or 5 times, Gronkowski's coming in as a blocker only, or
that's where you bring in Dwayne Allen.
Dwayne Allen's coming in as a blocker. Or,
still liking the over on that half a yard.
What's that? Christ, the kid from I think Wyoming that wears like 47, Hollister.
Oh, Hollister, yeah.
Yeah, you bring him in. Yeah, I mean there are options that they're going to have to implement in order to take that away from Philadelphia, which is certainly a possibility. But I think that is really the biggest mismatch that I see in this game that goes in Philadelphia's favor.
Now, what about, Philadelphia's offensive line versus, we've talked about the running game or, running ability to stop the run or lack thereof. Is there something up Matt Patricia's sleeve that he knows that, hey, look, I've got to find ways to get pressure on Foles but still be able to stop the run at that point?
Yeah, I think this all goes into or plays into the Patriots' philosophy of bend, don't break. They'll allow Ajayi and Blunt to get their yards, but they're still going to pull out all the stops to keep them out of the end zone and keeping the field goals. And, again, they know Blunt. They know Ajayi, too. I mean, as a member of the Dolphins, obviously New England played them enough that they have film on him that they know what he does against their defense. That's the best part of Philadelphia's offense that I can see, and I think New England has a very good opportunity to stop it.
It was Dan Fouts. We got the crack research staff to look up the guy in the water boat. Dan Fouts.
There we go.
So, an obscure trend. A couple of obscure trends I found. When I was doing my research, and we'll see if they play anything. This is the 11th Super Bowl meeting between an AFC East and an NFC East team. And the NFC East is 8-2. Does that mean anything in this game?
No.
I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Trends, they're not correlated to a specific game. They just, does that mean anything for Philadelphia, you don't think?
I can't imagine it would. I mean, it's just such a weird spot because it's, 2 of the wins are Giants over the Patriots. One of the AFC wins is Patriots over Eagles. I can't imagine that kind of thing mattering in a game like this. Or I can't imagine that trend mattering, I should say. It's an interesting one, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Another trend I found to be kind of interesting is that Philadelphia is the 5th team overall to come into their 3rd Super Bowl with an 0-2 record. And 3 of the teams who came in with an 0-2 record lost. The Vikings, the Broncos, and the Bills. And 1 team with an 0-2 record won. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't know.
Maybe if you brought your research, you would know.
God damn it.
It was the New England Patriots.
Yes.
When they went into their Super Bowl with the Rams.
Yeah, actually, if you look at New England in the Super Bowl and their total points for and points allowed, they are on the wrong side of history on that one because all of their victories have been razor thin.
Well, they lost, 45-0 to Chicago? Something like that?
45-10.
45-10?
Yeah. And the Packers won with, I think...
They lost by 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. So, that has skewed everything so much in that direction that it makes
But the
it
2 Super Bowls
weird.
they lost in Brady-Belichick era are, field goals?
Yeah, 3 points each.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4, whatever it was. But all their wins have been by 3 points, except for this the last one against Atlanta.
Yeah, that's true. Well, also, not only that, I mean, there's been 6 Super Bowls decided by 3 points or less, and New England's been a part of 5 of them. How crazy is that to think? I mean, there's 6 Super Bowls in all time. That's why the line, is such a striking line. It's 6 and 4.5, and depending on where you caught it, everybody's talking about how New England plays close games, and it's true. So for this line to be as big as it is, Anthony, what is that more of a testament to Patriots history or Philadelphia talent or lack of talent?
I would say more towards Philly's talent. According to this, before the game was released with the official point spread, they were projecting it to be a 7-point spread with this matchup. I think,
which would have been tied for the biggest, the Patriots as the biggest favorite in the 8 games that they've played under Belichick and Brady. That would be the biggest point spread, tied with the 2003 and 2004 seasons.
Yes, it would have been exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
To me, how they just beat Minnesota made everybody want to jump on that wagon and ride it all to hell. So
ride it all to hell, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people who are initial betting right now. When everybody, you can see it now on the Strip right now. Everybody coming into town. The Vegas Strip is starting to fill up with people who are coming in for the weekend, and all that money spike, like you alluded to earlier, is coming in on Philadelphia. At what point do we start to see that Patriot money come back around? Because I still believe this line's going to close 5.5.
I'm really
or do we?
I'm not entirely sure that we do. I think
it'll be about 4.5 or 5, realistically.
Yeah,
4.5 right now would be. Now there's a situation where I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a situation where the money could come pouring back in on New England, and the line may still not move.
Right,
and how do we read into that?
I'm not sure we read anything into it at this point. I think it's just the books right now. Like I said, the the tickets are coming in 59% for Philadelphia.
Right. I mean, the books got their Philadelphia money. They've got to figure out how to get their New England money.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't think they're going to adjust the line to do it. Maybe they adjust the.
Well, that's exactly what they have to do. I mean,
I don't know. They could say keep it at 4 and then make it even.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they've got to adjust. When I say specifically the line, I also mean the VIG as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, there's a way they have to do it to where they can get as close to 50-50 as possible. There's always situations, I believe it was the Seattle-New England Super Bowl, where they need a side.
Yeah.
They needed Seattle because so much money went on Seattle that never came back in on New England. So I don't see that as a case because I think if you're looking at me, like if I didn't have that previous bet and I was actually looking at a wager, I see the 6, and we talked about this earlier in other podcasts and off the air. I said this line's coming back towards even. If you're a guy who looks at the Patriots right now and you're like, I'm firing the Patriots, it's all just a matter of when. Can you see this line ducking into the 3.5s? Or is it almost too late at this point? You have to kind of make a fire. I don't mean light it on fire. I mean, like, you have to place a bet.
I think if there's some huge shark money, like, in addition to what's happened with that huge money line bet, I could see it creeping into 4 or 3.5.
Well, there's been talks that he's been actually looking to take it, find another casino to take another large bet. MGM said, this is it.
Yeah.
And I think with the publicity he's been getting, a lot of other casinos
they'll say no. Yeah.
Have been shying away. I don't know if he has to spread out his bets or whatever he's going to do. But he's been on record looking for another property to take his action. So if he can get that in, I could see this moving. If it's right now at the Superbook, it's 4. I could see this moving to 3.5 at that spot, and I think that's where, if you're a Patriot, well, I mean, sharp money could be on either side, square money could be on either side. Yeah. They always say the late money is the sharp money, which tends to be the right side.
Yeah.
But, if I believe that the sharp money's coming, I mean, here we are. It's Thursday morning at this point. When's it coming?
I don't know. I think late on Friday, early on Saturday is when you're going to see this. As right now, I've heard all in Las Vegas that there's only been 6 or 7 bets over $50K altogether, including that one huge bet that was made, which usually by this time they're looking at about 10 to 12 bets of that size on either side. So
it kind of makes you wonder what's the reason for the large bets being held off for right now.
It's probably people waiting for the line to readjust or dip down into that 3.5.
Do you think that large money bets are going to come in on Brady and company?
I don't know if they will at this point. I don't know if a book dips it down to 3.5, then we're going to see it, or 3.5. Then I think that we could see it. But I think and I guess the question is how much of those single large money bets are going to be offset by the weekend gamblers coming in just for the Super Bowl, because those bets are going to start rolling in as soon as Friday night hits.
Right. And I mean, right now you're looking at the money line plus 170 for Philadelphia. It opened up at 190, 200 in some spots. The Patriots consensus are still a 1-2 favorite. Put your hat on right now. If you're a New England bettor, is 4 good enough to fire?
For me, it is, but I am also not the guy that.
I'm trying to take your bias away.
Yeah,
Collins.
No. I'm trying to say that I'm not the kind of guy that makes my living on sports betting. I do it as a $20 here and there kind of. Like a dink and dunk kind of game manager style.
Okay, well, take your unit, whatever your unit is. I mean, a unit's a unit for a reason. It means the same to everybody.
Right.
My unit could be $1 million. My unit could be $5.
Yeah.
It still means the same. I mean, take your bet. If you intend on, I mean, obviously, like we said it. I intend on wagering with New England. I'll instead of saving it for the end, I'm going to tell you now. My wager is going to go with New England. But at this point in time, I'm kind of running a tight wire to where I think that the Westgate or stations could drop this to 3.5.
I think even 4 at even money could be a possibility too.
Yeah, potentially. 4 at even money, I'd still feel good.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so if you're Philadelphia bettor, take that hat off, put the other hat on. If you're Philadelphia bettor, how long can you wait?
You're going to hop on the money line right now if you're Philly bettor, I think.
Do you believe, if you're a Philly bettor, do you believe that with the influx of early money coming in now, that you think this sharp money, like you speak of, drives the New England line back up to where it originally opened, or where it's could be finishing around 5? Don't you then wait and see that money line maybe go back up to 2?
Do you take that gamble?
That's the thing. I mean, these Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the line is going to play so much, whether it's the vig or the actual number. It's such a cat and mouse game, Spike, that I don't really know. Like I said, I sit here on the New England side. Anthony's already come out and said he's on the New England side. It's such a dance at this point. Where do you look? That's the beauty of having so many different books. But it's like, where do you look at this point to say, hey, look, I'm on side X. Obviously you have until the beginning of the game. I don't really know what question I'm asking here.
Right.
You're pretty much asking, does the line close about the same as it is right now, or does it shift back up?
What if you gamble wrong? Okay, let's look at it this way. I believe the New England line's going to go back up. If I gamble wrong and I place my bet now, and all of a sudden the line closes at 2.5, which I know is absurd.
Oh, I would hammer away at it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you fire everything at 4 and then 2.5 opens up, I mean, you're just kicking yourself at that point.
I mean, you are, but you aren't. But the point I was trying to make with the $20 better is that, or the $20 bets on these games is that, if the line moves, or if I, bet $20 at minus 105 and then the line goes to even, like, I'm not going to sweat that. Like, I don't care.
The juice is a little bit of a different sweat.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you're betting a couple dimes at least, it's big enough.
And then even if the line goes from 4 to 3.5, like, for that kind of money.
Well, if you're betting $20, you're losing out on 50 cents.
Right, and that's the point, is that how much is my time worth to do all this extra research and to go to all these extra books and try to find, well, it's this line here, it's this line here, it's this line. Like, I'm not going to spend the time to do that. I'm going to say, here's $20, just give me a friggin' ticket so I can get on with my life.
Sure.
But so for that kind of thing, I think for a lot of these casual bettors, like everybody coming in from out of town, the people that aren't, trying to make life-changing money on these things, they're going to say, yeah, I kind of have an idea on my head. They might even say, as long as the line's 4.5, as long as the VIG's like, 110, maybe 105, then I'll take it. You just take it and you get on with your life, because otherwise, you're going to spend all day at the sports book, and God knows that's a miserable experience.
Yeah, especially on big game day.
I love how we do a sports betting podcast, and 1/3 of our hosts just can't stand to be in a sports book.
Well, that's why I love the mobile app. I mean, you can just skip the lines and just hopefully it doesn't crash.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I had an issue a lot with William Hill on Saturdays where I'm like, all right, I got to get this bet in, and all of a sudden, you're not in the area. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm sitting in the middle of Las Vegas, Nevada. What do you mean I'm not within the GPS area? Oh. And of course, those bets would win too.
Aliens
couldn't get them in.
Aliens have abducted your location setting.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, that's just kind of food for thought about the kind of the line movement that we're going to see over the next 3 days, whether it's on the actual number or the VIG. What's interesting to me is how the total hasn't really moved too much. It opened up 48. It's 48.5 in most spots. So, Spike, what is the amount of money coming in, or the percentage of money coming in on the over, you said?
I actually haven't seen the over. What I saw was 59% of the spread bets are going on the Eagles. 68% of the money line bets are going on the
money
Eagles.
line, okay.
Yeah, I heard 2/3 of the money is going on the over.
Okay, so there you go. So, and we're talking about 2/3 of the money going on the over, and it either hasn't moved or moved a point. Or moved a half a point. Yeah.
And some spots, yeah. I have a feeling it'll probably be about 49 by kickoff. It won't move too much.
Well, what are your thoughts on the fact that 2/3 of the money's gone in on the over, but the line really hasn't budged in most locations?
I actually kind of like the under in this spot.
It seems to have a sense of Vegas kind of feels like there's an under coming and doesn't want to move it too high up.
Where you have that.
I mean, because if it hits 50, I mean, I feel like a lot of the money. That 50 is kind of a magic number where the under starts coming in real hard.
Yeah, it's like that 3-4 point spread kind of.
Yeah.
One of those magical numbers that appears and leprechauns hop over the place or something.
What the fuck? I don't even know what to.
You need help.
That's an understatement.
Anyways, let's talk about an interesting kind of thing I thought about when I was last night. I was drinking a lot. Brady versus Foles, because obviously, even though they don't sit on the same field or play on the same field at the same time, is Brady versus Foles the biggest quarterback mismatch in Super Bowl history?
Oof.
I'll give you some examples that I came across. The first example I thought of was Peyton Manning versus Rex Grossman. Second example I thought of was Steve Young versus Stan Humphries in '94, Chargers, 49ers. And John Elway versus Chris Chandler in the second of the Broncos' back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, obviously this game hasn't been played yet, but I feel like this quarterback matchup kind of falls into that category of, David versus Goliath. Sorry to leave you speechless.
No, I instinctively I would say Manning versus Grossman, because Sexy Rexy is, he was not the reason that team was so successful. But truth be told, I don't actually remember his stats for that year, so that's why I gotta look it up. Come on, Wi-Fi.
We don't have Wi-Fi here. We didn't pay the bill this month.
Oh, Jesus.
You could look it up on the dog.
Maybe we really didn't pay the bill this month.
I'm pretty sure I paid it.
But, I'd hate to shit on Nick Foles too much because of what he's done the last 3 weeks. And like you said, Manning versus Grossman, in spite of Rex Grossman, the Bears won. Bears won the NFC and went to the Super Bowl where they were never really in that. But does Foles have the ability to win this game for Philadelphia? I mean, we're talking about him. Anthony said many times, manage the game and don't mess up. But does Nick Foles actually have the ability to win this game for the Eagles?
I could see it.
I believe he could, but I don't really see it happening.
So it could go either way, is what you're saying?
It could go either way, got it.
Well, I mean, it's the kind of thing where, we
take a stance, damn it.
We've been talking about, or my hope is that the Patriots get out to an early lead and that Belichick has to, kind of step on the throat of the Eagles, in which case the game comes down to Foles' arm. And we know from the past that he has been able to put up video game type numbers where he had that season with the 27-2. And, yes, he has the ability, at least at some point in his career, he has had it. But whether or not he's capable of doing it on that stage, in that presser situation, in that moment, that I'm not entirely sure about.
Does the Patriots defense have the ability to stop him from having that moment if he starts to?
I think so.
Yeah, they hit him in the mouth a couple of times, and, they get him off his game.
Because Brady, this is just week 19 for him.
Right, yeah, this is just,
Another day in paradise, kind of.
Brady's football season goes
people
until
call Minnesota paradise.
Goes until late January. That's just the way that Tom Brady works. He is used to this. He has seen.
Like you said, he has 2 extra seasons plus of football than most football players. It's like the old thing with LeBron James. LeBron James has played the equivalent of basketball for 2 more seasons than a regular player who doesn't make the playoffs every year. I mean, he's played in the finals. He's played upwards of 20 to 25 games every year more than an average player. Brady is the same way. He's played more time than the average guy who goes golfing after week 17.
Yeah. So,
not only is Brady 40, but Brady is, in terms of actual playing time, Brady's almost 42. So you have Nick Foles, who this is his stage, this is his time to shine, because we all know, like you said, Carson Wentz will be taking this team over whenever he is back from his ACL injury. I don't want to sit here and look at, we're all backing New England at this point. We've made that pretty clear. But I don't want to completely just rule out Philadelphia at this point. I mean, at some point, Nick Foles is going to have to make a play, and I believe that he can.
I believe so, but I think with this defensive line of New England, as well as their middle linebackers, will make that difference in rush Foles, and he doesn't have the mobility to kind of get away as good as Wentz in my mind.
Well, no, I'm not saying he's a better quarterback than Wentz, but
yeah.
What I'm saying is this game would be completely different. This game might actually have a bonkers, when we're talking about line movement, this game could have some serious line movement with Wentz in this game. I mean, that thing could hover around the Seattle, line with, Seattle, New England.
Go from -2 either way.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
So, I don't know. My first initial thought was, it's a huge quarterback mismatch, but I don't think it's one of the worst of all time. I think Stan Humphries, in my opinion, of the Super Bowls I've seen, Stan Humphries was so bad. I'd say the Steve Young-Stan Humphries matchup was, in my opinion, the biggest mismatch of all time, even though Rex Grossman was a very close second.
I don't know. I would lean towards the Grossman mismatch.
Yeah.
Just because it's the Bears.
I'm looking at the Grossman situation for that year. First of all, that was only one of 2 years where he started more than 8 games.
He didn't start every game in that season, did he? Orton started a few, right now?
He was in for 16 games. I don't have his actual starting rate here. But he was at least on the field for 16 games. 54.6% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, 20 picks, compared to Peyton Manning that year, who had, 65% completion percentage, 31 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Wow.
And yardage was 4,400 for Peyton Manning, 3,100 for Rex Grossman.
Yeah.
He had 3,100 yards?
Yeah, almost 32.
I feel like he was benched that season.
Yeah.
He might have been, but...
Who started Cutler?
Yeah.
No, Kyle Orton, I think, that year.
That might be it, yeah.
No, he started all 16 games.
Did he?
Yeah. Thomas Jones, God, blast from the past. What a running back.
Yeah, well, let's not forget the superstar of that team was Devin Hester.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah. Speaking of, do we have a snippet on whether or not Devin Hester is a Hall of Famer?
I think
we talked about it in a podcast.
Yeah,
I
I think me and Aaron covered that in podcast, but
okay.
I mean, you could mention that in a snippet for sure.
Hey, Cedric Benson was on that team too, man. Bernard Berrien. Muhsin Muhammad. Guy was always a fantasy stud.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're falling off the track here. We got somehow this Super Bowl preview got into Rex Grossman.
Pretty gross.
All right, well let's wrap this show up, and obviously we all know where we're leaning. I believe we're all on the line of the Patriots.
Give me the Pats.
Oh yeah, I'm taking the Pats for sure.
So give me the all unimportant score prediction.
I am saying 25-17 Patriots win.
I will say, probably pretty close to that. 27-17. New England.
That was Devin Hester's rookie year. Sorry, okay, that's it. I'm done. All right. So since the Crack Research staff did really good today, we'll give them a shot at picking the score.
28-3.
20. Hey! Nice troll job. You know, I've been thinking about this for a couple days now, and I think I'm going to go Patriots 31, Patriots 31, Philadelphia 20.
All right. Nice. You want to do MVP picks as well?
Who's my MVP? Let's see. My MVP is going to be Danny Amendola.
All right. Spike.
I mean, if New England wins, it's going to be Brady. Even if he has a shit game, they're going to give it to him just because it's Tom Brady.
I mean, he's already got 4 of them.
Yeah, they're going to give him another one.
Way to reach for the low-hanging fruit.
I know, I'm really just the worst.
I'm going to go with somebody that you probably wouldn't expect as much from me.
Wayne Allen.
Kevin Falk.
Nope. Kyle Van Noy.
Oh!
He's going with his old Detroit guy.
Going with the old Detroit guy. Linebacker. He's going to have about 2.5 sacks, a couple tackles for a loss. Hell of a performance. And
how goddamn much would you laugh if he gets benched the night before the game?
For going out too late and missing curfew.
And then Belichick decides to bring in just an extra wide receiver just in case.
What's Kyle Van Noy going off at?
60-1.
I think you should bet that.
I think I am.
All right.
And it says they must play for action, so, I mean, even if he gets benched, I get a refund, so.
Then I hope he breaks his finger on the third play. All right, Des.
That'd be a Detroit thing to do.
Who's your MVP of the Super Bowl?
My favorite, Rob Gronkowski.
What?
Rob Gronkowski.
Rob Gronkowski. What if he doesn't play?
He's gonna play.
Give you a backup. I'll give you a backup.
He's gonna play.
Cedric Benson?
Somebody else?
No.
Not Cedric Benson? You're not a Cedric Benson fan?
I like Amendola.
All right, so she's got Danny Amendola as a backup. I like Dwayne Allen as a dark horse. No, I'm just kidding. Over under half a yard.
Come on.
I'm playing the over on half a yard.
Come on, man.
All right, well, this was the Vegas Squares Super Bowl preview. We hope you gave you some insight and angles on I guess not how to watch the game, but, kind of when you're watching the game, on what to look for. And hopefully we're all on the right side. And hopefully if you tail us, you're on the right side as well. And if you fade us, then fuck off.
Just remember, don't rip your tickets up until it's over.
Oh my God.
Or bet on the app.
You know what? He's like a toy that has like 6 buttons on the back, and those are all his slogans. Like he's like Woody. You just pull his string. He's like, don't rip up your tickets.
Should we take up a collection to see if he'll get that like tattooed on his back or something?
We can make that a bet.
Pull a string.
Oh, all right.
We can do a tattoo bet.
All right.
Okay, wait a second here.
We're not done
Hold
yet.
on.
Yeah.
Before I completely wrap up the show, all right, what are we talking here at this point? So you've come out with you're making a tattoo. I'll tell you what, if Kyle Van Noy is the MVP, I will get a tattoo on my body.
Oh, God.
Of my choosing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So, yeah. Does it have to be related to the Super Bowl game, or you're just saying of your choosing, like a unicorn pooping?
I can get you a taco burrito.
Okay, so I will let you choose a tattoo if Kyle Van Noy is named MVP of the Super Bowl.
All right.
Wow. All right.
In exchange for...
What about Spike? Do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't have any tattoos.
Are you in on this?
I would be, but it's at the point now where my mind isn't working right. So I don't trust myself to make a good decision at this point.
All right, you have to come up with a bet that you're willing to, have happen.
I am sure we can think of one. If not for the Super Bowl, then we will think of one during the night season where we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, so if Kyle Van Noy is named MVP, I will get a tattoo of your choosing.
All right.
So now you get to pick a dark horse, and don't say Dwayne Allen.
Well, I was going to say if Dwayne Allen got the over on half a yard, I was going to make him get a tattoo.
Oh, no.
All right, so I will take somebody from the Eagles, and I will say if Jake Elliott gets MVP, you have to get a tattoo of your choosing.
All right, fair
Or
enough.
of my choosing, excuse me.
Fair enough.
All right, so Kyle Van Noy versus Jake Elliott. That seems pretty fair.
I like it.
All
You
right.
heard it here.
Book it.
All right. Thanks for listening to our Super Bowl. Should I do this again? Last time we had a tattoo bet. Last time I tried to wrap up. Thanks for listening to our Super Bowl podcast here on the Vegas Squares Radio Network. You can catch us, like I said, on Forward Mile Podcast Network, also on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. Or you can listen to the podcast directly on our website at vegassquares.com. Keep track of us on Twitter at Vegas Squares. You can keep track of us individually. Spike is Spike McAwesome. Tony is Token Tony 89, and I am Snoopaloop 87. So you can keep track of us on all of our different social media outlets.
I have been meaning to ask you about this Snoopaloop shit for the longest time.
Was it from old school?
It's from old school.
Yeah.
Come on, Snoop!
bring
We're
your
going
green
streaking! Bring your green hat! Gotta watch old school again.
All right.
Wow.
So, God, now I'm all fucking doing it.
Email us.
We're on social media, all the different places you can find us.
Email us at vegassquares@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the third time.
Yeah, exactly. So we appreciate you listening. Give us some feedback. Make comments on all the different shit. Interact with us on all of our different shit. And say hi to Spike if you see him.
No. God, no.
All right, guys. Once again, thanks for listening, and good luck on your bets. And go Pats.